Well, let's go from it. A mountain bike. So this is difficult to drive on this, and the topic is device testing. So basically the guy who drives the bike, mountain bike in the mountains, testing his abilities. That is the choice of the front picture for that. So this is about testing. I'm skipping introduction part that since you had already done. I just mentioned that I do also testing, and we developed jointly a specification for conformance test for CANopen FD at CANautomation. I'll do a brief introduction into general things. What is conformance and device description from the point of view of CANautomation in this case, and we go in details for device description. What do we have for that, and what we have about conformance testing of CANopen FD devices. So conformance testing is necessary evil, but maybe not the evil, but a necessary measure to achieve, to reach the device compatibility, even for the customer, if you sell it, or you do have end customer who design the systems with your devices. So it's very important to have it as a first stage, to have a conformance, and as usually conformance to a standard or a specification. This is no different for our case because we have CANopen FD specification 1301, and this is the specification against which our devices, CANopen FD devices of our members, non-members, are tested. So to having testing these devices, we need some kind of description, as we had it already also for CANopen. So we have somewhere information about the content of the object dictionary of the device, and we can verify it is in there and in which content, in which numbers. So for that, we've necessary to have description of the device and its application parameters, application functions, communication parameters, and manufacturer-specific features in there. So we did this for CANopen FD as XML based. In contrast to CANopen, we have it in CANopen as text based key value ini similar file from Windows, any similar texture format for our device description. Additionally to that, we have standardized XML device description. It is also really standardized as a part of XML structure standard. And this both valid for CANopen, and simple is to use a texture base because it's human readable, but in a recent time, or maybe let's say last 5 to 10 years, most important become automatic device integration, automatic device configuration. So with texture ini file, there are different implementation of it, while the XML based is a standardized programming language as it is. It's not just a data format conversion, but a programming language as it is. And having the format of new device description in there makes more sense for automatic device configuration and testing. So, important specification in this case, the whole range for testing of whole device based on its communication model. Standardized communication model is ISO-OSIS, which means also physical layer, data link layer, and application layers. maybe also transport layer. I covered everything in there. What we do actually at CAN Automation is just testing the application layer. And for that, we have specification in already developed for CANopen. It is also device description format, both formats, INI-based 306 and XML-based 311. So we said for CANopen FD, we would like to have only one standardized and XML-based, and the specification is 1311-1. It is completely designed and is available. And you can provide the device description to the device you develop based on 1301. What we are still having in progress is their test plan, 1310 specification. We are close to the finalizing, but not in this stage there. I will coming to this later on in this. Just for information, sorry for the mistake here, 1311-1 is no longer work in progress. It's a little bit older version I had of the slide inside. It is already released. You could use it for your device description. So then we go in details. What is device description XML based? How does it differ? Is it based same as CANopen one? So it means this is standardized one. It complies with a standard for that. Descriptions throughout various devices, Profinet devices, Ethercat-based devices, and so on. Not entirely, but we're close to it. It is still based on a standard for the structure of such description, the profile description, but we have limited the device description to the very specific functionalities in CANopen FD. It's mostly mandatory functionality is mandatory functions available. We are testing, say we had adopted certain description elements, XML description elements from the similar device description in CANopen, but we, because of its complexity, we reduced to the very necessary functionality in there. Certain features may come handy in the future. Maybe we'll introduce them or reintroduce them in this CANopen FD specification. But for the moment, the device description is available and is only possible for devices having single devices. No modular devices are covered by this specification. So the device description code now with XDD extension. There are tools on the market available to do so. There will be also a presentation later on involving more or less information about this. We have also specified format for device configuration, so similar like we had electronic device description for CANopen, and electronic device configuration format for configuration, but now we have this in XML only and for CANopen FD. This is the whole structure why the standardization came up in this game. CANopen FD as itself is not a part of the standard yet, but we designed a specification based on the standard, ISO 15745 in there. It's laying the base structure for all communication profiles. How should they be represented structurally for each device, and the network also from network point of view. It's just an example, a snippet of the XML scheme we designed basically in our device description based on this XML scheme. you can generate with a certain tools. You may design them yourself or purchase on the market from a renowned manufacturer, and could generate XDD file for your specific device and so on. All this information available in this certain specification 1311-1. It has certain features from CANopen. It is based on 1301 specification and contains all the necessary elements you needed to design such an XML-based device description. Now to the testing. The testing structure looks like, of this test bench, looks like a little bit simple, but yet it is not all we actually do. We don't have capabilities for that. On one hand, you have lower testing. On the other hand, we have upper testing. Lower testing means, in this case, we do on a very lower stage the device itself, considering as the black box, and testing its response on certain reactions from a test tool, or maybe it is done manually, as in case of CANopen FD. For the moment, we need for this lower testing device description. We have it, and there is a need for testing of the device description as well. It's also part of this lower testing of CANopen FD, and by this way we can expect the results, the action of the device, and say the device is conform to the specification 1301. If you want to test the device on application level, does it support some functionality? You need an upper test. That is what we cannot do, cannot afford to do, because it will be a much more complex test whatsoever. It needs really implemented functionality, application functionality in there, and a feedback may require special process interface to the device that we cannot simply design in there at CANautomation. That is also a part of functionality which might be tested with our interoperability testing or plug fests. But for the moment, we limit our testing for the lower test. Covers for the moment only conformance testing to CANopen FD. The test procedure we defined, approved in a committee's technical committee and in CANopen FD, contains the clear steps with very slight interpretation. We do manual testing, which takes some time, and once the certification, the testing is finished and fulfilled all requirements of the procedure, testing procedure, the certification, the device became certified and could be provided to the customer with this certification. Currently, we have already CANopen FD device, and we would like to have also more of the devices, so we could collect the experience and helping our members and developers such devices to improve their devices as well. Such as this, the reason for conformance testing, also to provide a feedback to improve the specification and to improve implementations of developers. The test plan. We are working on a test plan. It takes some time. We are covering almost all the tests. It will be very similar from the point of view of the modules, testable modules, since we have object dictionary test parts of the protocols and certain protocols of CANopen FD in there. We have already comprehensive catalog, and in this case, in case of CANopen FD, we do design slightly different our test cases. We have them in a classic way of doing things as a test case with atomic steps to provide clean and clearly defined test following steps, test procedures, having unique test cases which are repeating only one time, and the test steps also repeating only one time, and you exactly know what is happening in each single step. So we are in a process of development of this. Our test case format is based also on standardized template for that. You're welcome to look into the specification. For those of you who have not yet seen it, and you may want to provide some feedback on it, you're welcome to do so. Then you learned a little bit what we do with device description. Is XML based, contains very necessary features, very necessary requirements for the devices, how they should be described based on 1301 specification, and this specification you needed, 1311-1, provides not only device description, but recommendation and information about the device configuration, and also one small example how the XDD device description should generated by XML-based tool should look like. Also working on a test plan. We are close, but not yet there. We have a very comprehensive big test case catalog. And in a time when we design a test tool for that, this is still in consideration, of course. We're waiting for the test plan. In the meantime, CANopen FD testing, as my colleague said, is mandatory. So in order to make a connection and to offer already this testing to our developers and members, we have already test procedure available. You're welcome to download it from our website and provide some feedback if you find anything interesting there. That is all from my side.